Hi, Scott Sager here. Wanted to tell you about J.P. Conway. He's my friend at the Ackland Church of Christ where he's the preacher. He's also adjunct faculty for us here at Lipscomb. And what I'm excited about is he's got a book that's just come out. It's called Broken but Beautiful: Why Church is Still Worth It. And we've invited him to be with us today to talk just briefly about why he thinks the church is still worth the effort. I'm excited to welcome him to the Lipscomb campus, and I know his message will be important and timely for us all.
Life is a series of pendulum swings, and over the past 10 years, as I've been spending more and more time with college students, I've realized that we've been in the midst of a really big pendulum swing that I think we need to do some work in correcting. 20 or 30 years ago, we began to realize we're talking more about the church than we're talking about Jesus. So we began to focus more and more on Jesus, and we talked less and less about church. And now I'm realizing, as I talk to my college students, they have a very robust understanding of Jesus, and they like Jesus, but they haven't grown up with many conversations about the church. And it's difficult for them to process some of these things. I think there's an opportunity for us there. I think we spent too much time the last 2 decades talking about what we're against. And we need to spend more time talking about what we're for. I think we need to do 2 things that are really hard to do, and it's hard to do it simultaneously. But I find that when we do these 2 things, we almost always get a really positive reaction. Number 1, we have to admit that churches aren't perfect. We have to be more comfortable with that. We need to take ourselves less seriously, and we need to do better at confessing sin. Not just personal sin, but systemic sin. Sin in our congregations, and admit the things we've missed. Admit the sins, both sins of commission and sins of omission when it comes to our churches. We have a generation that can so clearly see that the church is not perfect, and we have to admit, yes, we've made mistakes. But then we have to pivot and do something that some young people have never heard before, and that is this truth. The church is the greatest social movement the world has ever known. So many people think that's hyperbole, or maybe that's just arrogant, but it's true. If we look at history, it's very clear. The church is the greatest social movement the world has ever known. And is it also spiritual? Absolutely. But I've never been as positive about the church as I am now. And we need to begin to advocate a positive vision of what the church is and what the church can't be. As we've seen people leaving churches more and more the last 2 decades, what we've found out is they're not able to recapture all the things that they found in church in the other places they've gone. In your book club or your yoga class or your neighborhood collective, you're not going to get all the benefits that you get in church. Church is different. It's never been duplicated. It's never been exceeded by any other thing. And we need to start passionately proclaiming these 2 things. Yes, church is broken, but there's never been a group that is more beautiful than the church. And we hold these 2 things together. This message is honest, is transparent, but it's inspiring, and it's a conversation worth having.